Hi there, my name's Sydney Belladonna, and welcome to another one of my art tutorials. In case you can't, tell by the look of me, I am a wee bit sick, but that's given me some free time to get around to making this tutorial fucking finally. Am I right or am I right? So today we'll be going over how to draw hands and feet. I will be doing these in both the same video. I'll be going over some very basic things, because both of these are very awkward, things to draw. I know hands are one of the most notoriously difficult things for artists to handle. Get it? Handle? Hands? But today I'm gonna try and go through really quickly and show you how I specifically draw hands in, like, really easy ways and the way that I think about them, whenever I'm drawing them. And kind of give you some visual keys to how to do hands and feet as well. Let's hop over to my art program now. Whoop, there we go. And let's get started. We're gonna start with our hands. And the first thing that we're gonna do is I'm going to set up a base arm. I'm just gonna do the end bit of a forearm. If you remember my last tutorial, it's kind of got this sort of like trapezoid up here, and then like a tapering tube that goes down to the wrist. Down there. Now from here, you do a splayed out little cube. It's more of a trapezoid than it is a cube. Or it's more of a cube than it is a trapezoid. Because it's got this sort of taper. This is reversed. If we're looking at it straight down, like this, right? This is your hand going straight down. If you take a second to look at your hand, depending on what kind of hand you have, you'll notice that it does kind of like curve outwards towards your fingers. So you'll have this kind of shape here. Right, now if we wanted to flip this over and do this, I think this makes things a little easier. Now, you can get the length and width of this square by just following along with your forearm. And then this square is roughly going to be the size of, let's see if my measurement actually works. 1, 2. So it's going to be roughly half the size of your forearm, if you saw how that worked, right? Then from here, you can add your fingers. Now your fingers are going to be the same, like now you're just doing a regular cube, right? On top of having it reach out the same amount of distance as the palm. So this is the palm, these are the fingers, right? This and this are the same length, but this has a curve, this is just going straight up. See how that works? This one tapers, this one doesn't. Again, sorry that I'm sick. Doing the best I can. From here, we're gonna actually add our thumb very quickly. You go to the base here, this little line here, and you go out just a smidgen, right? Bit, and then you draw it up to about just shy of this section here of the hand, and then you taper it back. And then we're gonna say that about here is where that little bump of your hand is happening. If you look at your hand, you will have like a little bump of like meat with your thumb. It's where all your muscles are. I do this because it says like, hey, this is where, the thumb is. Could even taper it in a bit more and make it like there. Now your fingers, if you once again look at your hand, depending on who you are, your fingers kind of have like a this going on. Your middle finger will be the longest, and then your pinky will be the shortest. It's a little something like this. Now there's no real way to like determine or like to specifically tell you this is where you go, this is how you do this, right? This is purely feeling. But as long as you kind of get like this sideways house hat kind of thing, you're fine. And then you just start carving your fingers. 1, 2, 3, 4. You have 4 fingers. Good job. Then you round it out. And you just kind of keep all of them going kind of small like that. Now, of course, some people will have you divvy them up depending on digits. You know, like that. Some people make them thinner. Some people will make them thicker. But this is the generic way of doing your front-facing hand, right? And then if you want to do it on the other side, you just mirror it. So we'll go over it very quickly once again. We start with the tapering of the palm. We have the extra hand up here. We have the thumb here and the little meat bit. You have the house hat. Goes like that. 1, 2, 3. 3 lines for 4 fingers. It's weird, I know. Then you just kind of make everything make sense. Now, those hands are a little different, but that's okay. Right? Boom. Very easy to do a hand like this, but this isn't the kind of hand that you want to do. Everybody can kind of do this hand once they've seen how to do it. You want a hand that's like open or moving around or wiggling, right? Easy, surprisingly. So once again, we're going to start with our forearm here, right? Now, a lot of people struggle with this part where, because you'll see a lot of drawings where like people have their hands and they're like this, or they'll just like straight up hide hands, especially if you have like a regular standing pose where someone's just like this. It's like, all right, well, I'm gonna hide this hand behind their back, and then this hand is gonna be in a pocket. This next way of drawing a hand I'm gonna show you is actually how you do a nice relaxed hand, like most people actually stand with their hands. So you're gonna do a triangle like that. That's coming out of the wrist like this. Then you're just gonna drop down a little rectangle, another little rectangle that's a little bit longer. Then you can just like tuck 2 more lines behind there, and then you do a thumb. Boom. I know that was really fast. We'll go over that again. But do you see how that's more natural for a hand to kind of exist in this kind of state here? But once again, you see that we have the palm and then we have the fingers. Same thing can technically apply here. I know that this seems like I did that really fast, and you know it might be hard to get the proportions down, but it's literally the same thing as what we did over here. Our palm, this section here, is still our palm. So this is the length that our fingers need to be. This is the length of our finger, right? We're just then taking this inner one, our middle finger, and rotating it inwards. Because again, your hand kind of splays when it's relaxed. You kind of have that natural, like, almost grip thing going on. See that? And then this can fold in and also just do that. These are all posable. This is one of the reasons why hands are really difficult to draw, is because they are so malleable. And they come with predisposed foreshortening. And if you struggle with foreshortening, you're gonna have a hard time with hands and feet as well. When we get into feet, it's another problem. But it's also similar in the way that these sort of things work. So now you have your, front-facing hand, where it's like you see your palms. You have your side-facing hand. Same thing with these for if you want to do the, your hand facing inwards. You do your thumb, you do your fingers, and then if you want to say that, this isn't the inside, just don't add this little meat packet part. And then that becomes the outside of your hand. Yes, my fingers are really like goopy and kind of thick, but depending on, you know, this is just your base plate. You can go back in and say, all right, well, I want like really thin, spindly fingers, but they're going to follow this kind of same, you know, direction in general. Or you just kind of going back with like boning. That. And so on and so forth. And then the other thing that you can do really easily is do a fist. You draw a square. You draw a tinier square that's about half, but it's still like a little lower down from this top part. So you've got like a little bit of space up here, and then you've got like half space down here. And then you do 4 little zigzags. You draw this up a little bit. And take that in. There. There. And you just bring those full circle. There you go. There's a front-facing fist. Now this one's also really easy to do in general because you now know what this looks like. So then you just kind of map it over a 3D square like this. So let's say we want this to be turned sideways. Well, we do our 4 little squiggles. We add our thumb here. With this. Best way to learn how to, you know, what your hand actually looks like when you do this kind of stuff is to actually look at your hand. Bada bing, bada a. There you go. There's your fist. Right? And then of course from here, because you already have your 3D cube, you can adjust it as needed. Say, you know, you want this finger to be pointing. Well, you just add another 3D cube. You know, I'm covering another part. You add another 3D cube that kind of fits what you're doing. Go from there. I know that doesn't look super great, but the principle is there that you're working with cubes. You know, this triangle shape is the back end of like this shape. So if we look at this, like, right, if we have that, it's like this. I think it's actually more like this. That. This is like the inside of your hand. Where your thumb is. Off to the races with the rest of the hand. See? Now, I know I probably didn't do the greatest of jobs explaining all of this, but I hope you definitely got a little bit of something out of this. Hands are, again, notoriously difficult, and they require a lot. Hands are notoriously difficult, and they require a lot of practice, a lot of time, a lot of figuring out what works and what doesn't work. But I think the best way for people to learn how to do hands is to start with their cubes. You know, operate with the cubes, and then you just kind of start throwing stuff together. Look at your own hand as well when you draw. Your best reference is literally your own hand. Draw with cubes, draw with straight lines, figure out how things work, figure out, you know, what works for you. Again, the reason why hands are really difficult is because they are so organic as a shape, and they're also steeped in foreshortening. And a lot of people off the rip struggle with foreshortening because they don't see the connection between what's in front of them and what's behind things. But when you kind of dumb things down a little bit, and you just go to cubes, or you just go to fists, or you just go to like this side splayed hand here, I think doing this is the best option that you can have. Because most people will see you draw a hand like this and lose their shit. If you can get that to work for you, I think it's honestly more of a that shape. If you can get this to work for you, right, and you do this a lot, I think more people will appreciate how you do your hands. Again, hands are weird, hands are hard. There's no like one way to do it. There's no like magic trick to getting them down. It takes a lot of time and it takes a lot of study. Trust me, I sucked at it too. You know, I got better, but I sucked at it for a long time before things started to click for me and I started doing more studies. Really focus primarily on studying these sorts of things and like breaking them down and understanding them. Anyways, we're gonna move on to doing feet. Now, feet are definitely weird. We're gonna do the same thing where we're gonna do our kind of like forearm shape here, but this is actually our calf. And then we're gonna do our ball joint for our foot. This is our ankle. This is our ankle. If you look down at your ankle, you'll notice you have two little bumps on the side. We're gonna be drawing the foot going this way, right? So you kind of sit in like it's a toy, right? So you have this extra bit down here. And then you kind of just slope it off down this way. A little slopey. And then you taper it back in and up and around. And then you do your heel. And you can wrap this around for a toe. Now again, this is more organic. This is a foot. Feet are weird. We're gonna add toes in because why not? There you go. So your toe wraps around, it goes to the ball of your foot, which is this kind of like that shape, and then it tucks in for a second, and then it goes under, and then you get your foot. Now feet are very weird because they're very flat. They're flatter than you think they are. So most people, when they draw feet, they want to do it. They want to do like a this. Don't do with that. That's like a shoe. That's like a big fuck off shoe. We're doing a this. Right? Now, if you take it from the front, you know, you do the same thing with your ball joint. What you're doing is you're doing that tapered look before, right? We had that taper shape before. But it's kind of extending out. It's combining the hand that we just did. This is why I'm doing this in the same tutorial. Our hand, right, tapered out and then stayed straight. Now it's kind of doing the same thing where it's just tapering, but it's tapering to this kind of shape, right? So, you know, you give it this little extra that, and then this taper from here. Get your sides of your ankles. Then you just wrap around this little connector bit to show off that those are toesies. Then you do your toesies. There's a foot. Now, of course, you can kind of tuck it in a little bit more. That. And there you go. Again, it's I feel like I'm not doing a good enough job explaining these things, but it's because they're so both simple and difficult at the same time. They're difficult because they're so simple. Once again, if you just do a little tapering rectangle like this, here's your foot. If you don't want to do that, you just do a little this. You just do a this. And again, I know that it's weird to hear me say that, but this is what you do. This is how you do a front-facing foot. Here's a toe, there's a toe, there's a toe, there's a toe. See what I mean? Your big toe is your thumb, and then the four little toes are the rest of your fingers, basically. But you just didn't evolve to the point where this kind of connection resulted in you having hand feet. See? I feel bad. I feel bad that I'm not doing a good enough job explaining this. If you want to do a foot in a 3/4 turn, you just kind of do the same shape. Like that. Right, so you do that like splay out thing that we've got going over here. But you just kind of fan it out away. And then you go underneath the ball a little bit and you add your ankle. Not your ankle. You add your heel, the heel of your foot back here. And then you just turn this into like a little bit of a 3D cube. Because that's where your toesies are. You do that into this. And then you just connect your toes. That. Again, because they're so organic, I'm struggling to explain these really well. I might have to come back at a later date and make another tutorial where I kind of go over them a bit better. Maybe it's because I'm sick that I'm not doing the best of jobs. Maybe I should have waited. Now that we've gone through like pretty much every portion of the body, I want to take a second and go through how to do proportionally everything connected to one another. So, from the start, we're going to start with the head. It is a circle. This is everything that you need to measure everything else out. You want to cut the circle in half, and then in half once again. And then you're going to take this, and one of these sections, right, is how you get the chin. And then another section is your neck, basically. So for instance, if you take this circle, you draw another circle underneath it, and you cut that circle in half, that's the bottom of your chin and the rest of your neck. Right here is where your chest is going to start. This is a square, roughly the same size as your head. This square is the full size of both the top of your head and the chin. So if we were to take this top part of the head and the chin, and we were to move this down here, it's the same size. From here, we add another square down below, and then we cut this square in half. This section here, this section is technically an empty section. We get rid of the sides, and now we have our rib cage, and we have our pelvis, like so. Then you take the full length from the top of the head to the bottom of the pelvis, and you flip it upside down. You take this, I'm going to just for example's sake, scoot that down here. Right, it's a little too tall. Shrink it down just a little bit. Right, we're going to grab this. I can do this. I'm a professional. I know how to do this. I'm going to take that. We're going to go down here. This is the full length of our legs. Our legs come out here to here. Right? And then our arms are going to come out down to here, and this is where our wrists are going to be at the end of this pelvis. The bottom of the pelvis is where the hands start. Then we connect a little triangle and a little triangle, and then we connect this. So basically, it's like a diamond. And that's how we get our shoulders. Then our shoulders drop down to our bicep till about the end of the rib cage on both sides. And then the arms turn into the forearms. Right here is the bendy bit. Right. And then same thing down here is that you go from leg to leg, leg to leg. And then our squares for our hands and our feet are roughly this shape. So this top quadrant of our head, this is the size of our hands. So if I go here and I draw over this again, I take this, right? We go down here. That is one hand. That is another hand. We put it on our foot. We're going to keep it there. That's our other foot. So then what we do from here, because we're going to numb everything down a little bit so I can go back in on our primary layer here. And then I'm going to go that that triangle shape that I showed you earlier. The hand. See how the finger is just a smidgen shorter than the palm. Same thing over here. We do the taper out of the foot, like so. There you go. There's a reasonably proportional human body. Of course, you know, more meat on the legs is always good. You can, you know, make characters more fleshed out, more meaty, but this is your generic proportions. This is not specifically how you should be drawing a body, but this is how everything is proportioned out. This is how you're able to use your head to measure out the rest of your body if you are at any point having problems connecting everything together. Everything is measured from the head. That's why I always start with the head when I start drawing. But also at the same time, I now know that if I start with the foot, I know how big the foot is compared to the head. I know how big the foot is compared to the chest because I know how big the foot is compared to the head compared to the chest. I know that it's going to take 4 of these little quadrants, the size of the foot, to get from the top of the head to the bottom of the neck. I also know that it takes 3 to get the size of the chest. I also know it takes not even 2, just 1 to get the size of the pelvis. The body is measuring itself at all times. It's actually surprisingly symmetrical. And once you start seeing these relationships between these different portions of the body, that's when things start to kind of click a bit better. But if you can take this, right? Take how this looks. And you can take these. Remember all that I'm trying to get you to do. The primary focus of all of these tutorials that I make is that when you are looking at anything and trying to draw something, you should be breaking down what you're looking at into simpler shapes. When you're able to break something down into squares, circles, and cubes, squares, circles, and cubes, like squares and cubes aren't the same thing. When you start being able to break these things down into simpler and simpler shapes, their connections and how to reconstruct them happens very easily. What happens a lot, and I know I've said it a lot, is that people will look at a full form, right? They'll look at the complexity of a hand. Actually, give me a second. Someone will look at the complexities of a hand like this, right? They'll look at this hand and, get lost in all these lines and these details and all of these different portions of it. But when you take a second and you break it down into simple squares, right? Simple squares. Suddenly it's not so intimidating anymore. Suddenly what you're looking at kind of makes a bit more sense. Because again, you've broken it down into squares. You can see the similarity in what we were drawing before to what this is. And this is across the whole of art as well. For instance, if we take a pose, at this point we're pretty much done with the hand and feet tutorial. I'm just art talking to you at this point. We take a pose like this, right? That, they're bending all over the place, they're moving around, they've got foreshortening going on, they've got this stick thing going on. how does any of this work? What am I supposed to do with this? Well, you break it down. You go in and you say, okay, well, I know that here's the pelvis. So there's your box. If you watch the body construction tutorial, you know what that is. All right, I can see that this is the shoulder to shoulder line. So that would mean that this is the side of the body where the rib cage is happening. Got it. This is the spine, so that's where the spine line is going to happen. Got it. Here's the butt, so the spine line also goes over the butt. Got it. You got this leg happening down here, and then you've got this other leg that happens down here, and then you got the ball of the, you got the fucking heel of the foot over here, and you get that little taper bit that we were talking about before. We get that other taper bit and those toes again. We can just connect those together. Notice how that's just like a little nubbin. This is just a circle, and then we got a rectangle connecting them. And then we take that and we break that down, and then we go back up to the thigh here, and that goes up there. We got our circular shoulder. That's where that is. We drop down our arm. We get our forearm thing going on. And then we get the square of our hand, and then we get the rectangles of our fingers. And then we can add in this circle, not the circle, the stick. And then we can do the circle for the top of the head, and we get the direction of the face. We get the jawline here. And then we get the neck. And there's also a hand here for some reason. Right? And now, of course, you know, I haven't fully detailed this, but if we hide it, there's your pose. But this is nothing more than a bunch of rectangles, circles, loose circles, and like some triangles. Simplify your shapes. Things can be scary, but the longer you make them look like this shit, it becomes significantly easier. And that's what you have to train yourself to do, and there's no amount of tutorials you can watch that will help you do this. Because it's literally just up to you to learn the connections between everything here. And to take a further second, this doesn't only pertain to bodies as well. If you want to do something like this, you know, you want to do a grand kind of establishment or building, right? What is this building made out of? Nothing more than some rectangles, some triangles. Even here, there's a triangle, another rectangle, there's a circle there. This ornate design, this ornate building that you're looking at is nothing more than a triangle. There's like a little half circle happening up here. That's more of a triangle than anything else. And then you got this thing back here, which is also just like a semicircle. And then you got your rectangle back here, right? And then you could do your windows that operate on the same idea as 3D plane, because they have like, you know, a little bit of rotational stuff going on. Here, triangle, square, triangle, square, triangle, square, triangle. Easy. And we hide it. We hide the body too. There you go. If you can break down really complex looking places and shapes into very simple shapes, this is your sketch. This is not your final design. This is not your line art. This is your sketch. This is you mapping out where things are meant to go. And the simpler you can make your sketch and the easier you can make your sketch on yourself, the better time you'll have when you actually start going in and adding detail. It's easier to utilize like the reference points of very simple shapes than crazy out there shapes. You start big, you move in small. Did you notice when I was drawing this, I didn't just like start going, all right, well, here's the circle and the window's like kind of over here, and then like this triangle's up here. No. What I did was I went, all right, so we've got rectangle here, we got rectangle here, we got rectangle all right here. You know, this is all right there. We got a triangle kind of there. We got a triangle up here. We got a triangle up here. Then I started getting more minute with it. That's what you want to be doing. Because once you have this kind of state, like this base, then you can go through the tiers and change from this to finally this. Don't rotate the cow, rotate the cube. I will say that until the end of time. All right, I think that's all we've got. Thank you for watching. Sorry that I didn't spend too much time on both hands and feet, but I hope towards the end there I sort of made more sense. For me personally, explaining how I do hands and how I do feet, I don't really feel like is beneficial entirely. However, at the same time, maybe I can use this as a way to get you to join stream sometime. I stream anytime from 4:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to around 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We do art, we do games, we do other stuff. Please feel free to join in at any time, and if I'm drawing, feel free to ask any questions that you might have or any more, things like that. We've had some people join in recently who come in and like want more, like have very specific questions that I'm able to answer for them, and things like that. Because honestly, when making a video like this, I don't know what it is that you personally are struggling with. But whatever it is that you need explained or shown or just like to see things, feel free to join in at any time and ask away. It doesn't bother me. I actually like doing it. I like helping people with that sort of stuff. I'm happy to see when people start improving. Not only just with the stuff that I tell them, but just in general, I like seeing people improve with art. I like sharing art, especially nowadays where being an artist kind of seems like even more of a second-class citizen position. I really like making sure that people feel like their art is worthwhile. So I hope you stop by stream sometime to ask any questions that you may have. Feel free to subscribe if you like this video and want more content. Hit a like button. Hit the like button if you like the video. And this one, ring the bell, because apparently that's like important. Ring the bell so that you get updates on when I'm streaming and when I upload as well. But yeah, I hope you have a good rest of your day, and I hope this helped you at all or kind of gave you a better understanding of what you're doing. If not, shit, I'm sorry. I just wasted your time. But yeah. Yeah. I'm bad at ending videos. Bye.